Obsidian is well known for having a lot of plugins, but you don't need a ton of plugins to 10x your Obsidian setup. Today, I'm covering 5 more plugins that level up Obsidian and give it superpowers. Stay tuned until the end for a 6th bonus plugin that you'll definitely want to check out. The first plugin we're going to talk about is called Outliner, and I love this one because I tend to make a lot of lists and outlines in Obsidian, but rearranging them manually can be a real pain. This plugin solves that by allowing you to manage list indent levels and rearrange points using just your keyboard and intuitive controls. So once you install and enable Outliner, I do recommend that you go in and adjust a couple of the hotkeys. So in your community plugins, if you find Outliner and you go to the hotkeys, you're going to notice that by default, there are a couple that are blank. They don't have hotkeys assigned by default, and that is the keys to indent and outdent your items. You'll already have hotkeys set for moving things up and down and folding and unfolding lists, but you're going to want to add in the indenting and outdenting. I find that I always want to have that on. So I just add in the same scheme that's already there, which is Control, Shift, and then the arrow key. So you will press Control, Shift, and then whatever direction you want to move the point in. And to demonstrate this, I'll show you what it can do. Here we have a numbered list. I can Control, Shift, and then with the arrow keys, move my point up and down. I can take a point and I can make it a subpoint or back to a main point. I can also move subpoints between main points, but if I move the whole main point, it brings the subpoints with it. So you can also fold your lists with a keyboard hotkey, which is very nice. So basically this grants Obsidian true outliner powers. So you can plan projects, writing, and presentations so much faster and more naturally when you have this plugin installed. So the next plugin we're going to discuss is called Templater. And templates are an awesome way to get consistent workflows and save brain energy when you make notes about the same types of things. It's also really good for keeping your data structure consistent with using the same properties and tags. And this plugin brings templates to an entirely new level in Obsidian. Now, Templater is super powerful and can add a ton of dynamic variables into your templates. And in order to unlock all of that functionality, you do have to kind of use and learn this JavaScript syntax that it uses. Honestly, I don't use it that much. I'll tell you the one feature I do use with this, which really is worth it to me, is this folder templates feature. And in order to do that, you have to open up your settings. You're going to go to your community plugins, and then you're going to open Templater, options, and then you want to turn on trigger templater on new file creation, because then you can use this folder templates feature, which basically allows you to say, hey, every time I make a new note in whatever folder you put here, you want to use the same template for that file. What I do with this is I actually go in here and I click this first option, that's the slash. That means every single note made in the main folder is going to have this template applied to it. So it becomes kind of your default template for every single new note. And it's just such a powerful thing. I honestly think this should have been a native feature, but this plugin solves that. And you can even get more granular and add additional folders. Like say, if you have a project folder and you want to use a specific template for projects, you could assign that. But then the caveat to know is that when you do that, the only way to actually trigger that new template is when you go to the folder and you right click and you make the new note directly from that folder. But in general, even just that one folder templates feature is totally worth it for Templater. But you also have a lot of other powers that Templater brings with it if you are willing to put in the time to learn a little bit of this syntax. What I recommend doing as like a pro tip is find the ones you know you're going to use a lot and save them in a note, and then you can copy them and use them in templates later on and not have to memorize how to use the Templater syntax. So one thing that annoyed me when I first started using Obsidian was that you couldn't minimize the program to the tray and run it in the background and then call it up with a hotkey like a lot of modern productivity apps do. This plugin introduces that functionality and otherwise stays out of the way, and it's called Tray. Really awesome plugin. And when you install it, you're going to want to go to the settings and fiddle with a couple of things. By default, this is off, but you're going to want to turn on run in the background. It will create a tray icon. So when you pull up your tray, you'll see Obsidian. I have 2 vaults running right now, so you'll see multiple icons. So you can do this with multiple vaults, although I don't know if I recommend that from a memory management standpoint, but you can do it. You can also launch it on startup, so it automatically launches when you start your system. And you can even do that in the background. So this is great for just, keeping Obsidian running all the time. You can save real estate on your screen, but then still have quick access to read and add your notes. These hotkeys can be changed. I do find that they're pretty intuitive as they are. Command or Control Shift Tab will pull up the window and toggle it, and then you can even make a note from anywhere in your system. Command or Control Shift Q, and it will pull up a little window for you to type a note, and then when you close it, it'll be dropped into whatever folder you set here. So super simple plugin, stays in the background, but really just kind of gives Obsidian another feature that I feel like should have been native to the design, but is included in this plugin. This next plugin is subtle, but a powerful one, especially if you do any daily notes or other date or time-based workflows. It's called Natural Language Dates. Now, I don't use daily notes, but I do love this for not having to remember exact dates or look up dates, because you can use relative language and natural language to input dates. So when you install it, you do want to go to the settings in your community plugins, and you want to check a couple of things. Make sure the date format makes sense for you. If you're using daily notes, you want this to match whatever your daily note format is. You can change what day the week starts on and other formatting things. This add dates as a link is on by default, which is what you want if you're using it with daily notes, because then it will link to your daily note for that date. If you're not using daily notes like me, it's kind of pointless to have a link there, so I turn that off. And you can also change the trigger character. In this case, it's defaulted to the @ symbol. I don't change it, but if something else makes more sense to you, you can adjust that. So once you have that kind of all configured, when you come in here and you're like, I want to put in a date, you just type that @ symbol, and you can, put in, tomorrow, or, last week, or even something like 10 days ago, and it will actually automatically pull up the date for that. So super easy to enter dates without having to pull up your calendar and say, okay, what day was that? This is smooth and just a very simple and subtle plugin, but one that you will definitely notice when it's gone, because you get used to using it and it saves a lot of time and headaches. Another small annoyance with Obsidian is that it seems to lack a clear startup workflow. So when you normally open Obsidian, you land on this new tab page that's kind of generic, and it just sort of offers these blank options. And a lot of people find that kind of uninspiring. So these next two plugins solve that, because they create a new startup experience. And yes, you're getting a bonus plugin here, because both of these kind of do the same thing, but I think they work for different people and different workflows. So those two plugins are called Homepage and Home Tab. And it does sound like they do the same thing, but I'm going to show you how they're different in a second. We'll start with the Homepage plugin, because this does pretty much exactly what you would expect it to do. It allows you to designate a specific page to be your homepage. So that will open when you launch Obsidian. You can also set it to be the page that opens when you close all your tabs. So if you close your last tab, this page will open. And you get to create whatever you want on that homepage. Some people who are like maximizers and tinkerers will make this very complicated and have data views and dashboards on there. And that's fine. You can do that if you want, but you can also be pretty simple with it and do something like this homepage that I whipped up before this video. It's just a couple links that I put in. Like, you could put stuff that you're working on and things you want like quick access to, and then it's just super simple, and you can just quickly kind of get into your notes. Similarly, the Home Tab plugin does the same type of thing, but it is a different experience and it's more search focused. So I do not recommend you do these at the same time, so that's why I turned them off. But you can run the Home Tab, and in the options, by default, it's going to replace your new tab experience with this search-based tab. So when you open a new tab, you'll land on this search bar. You also can open Home Tab on Startup, which is not on by default, but if you want that sort of startup experience, you can turn that on. You can also toggle it to integrate OmniSearch if you're using that plugin instead of the native search. So you can have kind of a unified search experience. So basically what it looks like is this, and it is just a search bar. So this is great for my workflow personally, because I'm mainly just storing information in Obsidian and then getting it out. So when I open up Obsidian, I kind of pull it up. Okay, what am I looking for? And I can start searching away. You can also get the plugin to pin recent files down here below the search bar, or specific files that you've bookmarked. So that's also helpful, and it's the perfect level of simplicity for what I use Obsidian for, which is as a reference system. So both of these plugins are similar, and they introduce a smoother startup experience, and they make it easier to get right into your notes with less steps. So let me know in the comments which of these plugins you tried and what you liked about them. And if you liked these plugins, you should check out the other video I did about 6 minimalist plugins that are more subtle than these, but just as awesome. Remember to like and subscribe for more productivity content.